create a true home court advantage per team. Because you can't do a blanket home court advantage in college basketball. It varies wildly. And I'll use an example. It's right here in Las Vegas, where UNLV's home court advantage, I believe at one point might have been as much as 6 points a game. It was enormous. This was a completely intimidating atmosphere to play in. And teams were, whether they admitted it or not, they might be excited to come here, and they were also scared to come here.
That was back in the Jerry Tarkanian days.
It was a frightening home court advantage. It was still pretty good in recent years because UNLV was leading the West Coast in attendance on an annual basis. The students showed up, locals were excited, and we had big crowds. Now, the UNLV home court advantage, I don't know that it's more than 2 points now. So you have to kind of size it up by team. But I do think it's an important part of your daily handicapping analysis because you do have to create something in your power ratings for home court.
Totally agree. And, I mean, home court is a concept that we could break down. I'll give you a little teaser on it. Home court advantage is two things. You know your floor, you know your rims, you know the backdrop, you're used to the sight lines, and your crowd is behind you, and if you have a very vocal crowd, it really helps. There's one other thing that's involved here. Road team disadvantage. Traveling to and from these schools. Some places are just hard to get to.
I'll throw you in one because we were talking about the old days with Tark.
Yeah.
And this is true. Jerry Tarkanian, I asked him this is years and years ago, and we used to do a pregame show on old Cadon. From Ellis Island.
Lee Pete,
myself, Andy Isco used to stop in, Donnie Bader, and one of the coaches would always stop in. And it happened to Jerry. It was right down the street from the Thomas and Mack. It still is, by the way. Ellis Island is still there. So Tark stops in, and I happened to ask him, I said, what's the worst trip in college basketball? And he took 1 second to answer. He says, Laramie, Fort Collins. That was at the time when they don't do it anymore like that, but at the time in the conference, you would do the 2 games in 3 days, usually in the dead of winter, at Wyoming and at Colorado State. In altitude, it's in the middle of nowhere, the weather was horrible, and and the Rebels, as good as they were, used to have trouble on that road trip, especially in the back end of it. He hated that road trip. That's one of the things you look at when you're talking about road team disadvantage.
That's right. So when you're looking at let's say in the old days at UNLV with Tark, the home court for me was 7 points. That was the biggest court in the country.
Yep.
And then of course you get like Duke. You know darn well if the game comes down to the end, I'm sorry guys, this is the fact. They are not going to call fouls on your team, Mike Krzyzewski. They're not going to do it. So you're going to get that. So what's the home court event? If the game's close, it's big because you're getting all the fouls and you're not getting any called on you. So there's a lot of things I start my season off by studying what happened last year, looking at who came in, getting a power rating both home and away, and then adjusting. That's why I use my Fast Facts Pro. Tough to say.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, not so much. Fast Facts program to create lines in 7 different categories so that I can stay with these teams because there's a lot of them. That's how we handicap basketball.